Fuck. Shit, I didn't think I hit record. Fuck, I am recording. Hey, everybody, this is Podcast for We. Podcast for me as well as a podcast for you. I'm your host, K-Dog. It's weird because now, it was a podcast for we, but originally it was a podcast for me. I made a podcast just for myself, really, because I don't know, midlife crisis, who knows? But I'm your host, K-Dog. My other host, Ever, he's doing his own thing. And we'll probably make a podcast tomorrow. But I felt it necessary to try to do a podcast by myself because that's how I started. And I figured I could do that again, just riff all by myself, which I don't know if I can. It's a little bit hard. In the sense of like it's so foreign to me now because it's been like a year. You're not doing something. It's like a muscle you can't do. And usually I try to work the cameras and everything into a thing where I can see all sets of things at the same time while trying to make eye contact with the camera, which is kind of hard to do. And at the same time, look at the screen. In retrospect, I should have several screens now. I don't know. Let's look at half shit while I'm talking. I don't even know the audio quality of this because usually I gauge the audio quality on my cohort over there, but whatever, man, whatever. So what's this podcast about? Talk about all things nerd. So we were talking about politics for a good year. I'm not gonna lie, that did happen quite a bit, but it's also about other things, life, philosophies, things like that. I'm a big Star Trek fan. In fact, the brunt of this podcast will be a lot of Star Trek talk. Who knows? I've been getting several rants in Star Trek on the Facebook. I liked a bunch of Facebook posts. I was like, not rants, but like, little Star Trek debates. But every once in a while, you could tell there's a person who's not really a fan of Star Trek and they just be talking just to talk. And that's a bit of a weird thing. It's like there's a rise of fans that I didn't know existed where they think they know Star Trek, but they don't. And that's a weird thing to say onto itself, like, I'm so hardcore and I'm like I'm not even that hardcore when it comes to Star Trek, but it's weird. People that they'll see something like the newer Star Trek and defend it vehemently over nothing. And when they definitely didn't watch the old series. And then their only way of like talking about points that you're talking about. So, I mean, this is pretty vague, but like for an instance, I had an argument about the robots, right? So I'm like, yeah, in that show Picard, they kind of shat over the Measure of a Man episode, and this one guy's all like, they were robot slaves. They're like, a toaster, and it's just like I don't even think you know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm talking about Measure of a Man. Picard's like, let's not make a bunch of datas. And all because they're not sentient, there's a chance, I mean, the fucking fact that they destroyed those fucking robots in Picard or the secret ultra Tal Shiar people, the Vosh, whatever the fuck, they took down that entire race of robots because they thought maybe if it's sentient alive, we got to destroy it because I'll end all life. And some weird cosmic plot, that's kind of complicated to say, but it's kind of weird because usually you have someone else talking and then you just go off of that. But let me get into some little tidbits here. I want to shoot the shit about. So fucking got rid of the screen. They got this new this is some nerd talk, guys, just saying. I should have set up the camera better on TV. Whatever. They got this new show. It's not show, movie in the Marvel universe. It's called Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu. And I guess this is just like Marvel's attempt to be woke, even more woke, where like we had a woman kung fu we had a woman superhero. Now we got to have a female superhero, and then they had that. Well, I just said the same thing twice. We had a female superhero, we had a black superhero. Now we need to go to the next step, Asian superhero. So they got the Shang-Chi guy, Master of Kung Fu, and his power is Kung Fu, if you didn't know. This camera is so weird. I don't even know what to do with this thing. Like I turn it and it just gets weirder. Whatever. So yeah, he's got the power of Kung Fu, but also that means like chi, which it is a bit of a bummer that they would use something vague as chi, and it's hard to establish, right? Hopefully they can world build that in a way where it's not too fucking fantastical. I mean, like Iron Man comes up with some crazy shit, right? Nanites, right? Might as well just say magic. In one instance, he's able to create all these things. Another instance, he isn't. And I mean, you can use the logic he ran out of nanites or whatever. And I'm thinking, why doesn't he have like a bunch of those little nanite cells all around him since he could rearrange it and shit like that? But whatever. And you got Thor. He's got magic powers, but they don't really specify what the fuck magic powers he has. Apparently, he has lightning, and they kept it to that. And he's super strong. He can fly, kind of, right? And that's about it. So, I mean, like, they came up with some stuff, and without going too crazy, they kind of isolate it. And that's the thing when you're world building, you kind of want to have limits so that when they do something impossible, you can then just be there with it. But they're moving away from that in a way. Like you'll watch that Winter Soldier versus or Winter Soldier, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? And you got the super serum, and apparently it's like you're super strong, super fast, maybe super smart, who knows? And then you don't know. You just say it makes you a super version of yourself. And with that being said, you can't tell if like, can he throw a car now? Oh, he can't throw a car. Oh, he can throw a car now. Can he run really fast? I don't know if he can run really fast. Can he jump really high? Can he land? Can he land from far distance? Is it too much? I don't know. Can he heal really fast? It's undefined for whatever the scenario needs, right? And I mean, it's still in the realm of possibility. They're not flying yet. So you got Shang-Chi, and so you got the Sorcerer Supreme too. See, that's the crazy thing with magic, man. He do one thing at one point, but he do one thing in another. So you got Doctor Strange, right? He can trap you in some fucking world, right? But for some reason, he never does that to any bad guy he fights. I mean, he does it in that one movie, but like, so when he's fighting Thanos, why didn't you put him in that realm where it was like a mirror realm? Seemed like you couldn't get out of it, but whatever. I mean, yeah, he had the fitting gauntlet. Maybe, I don't know. Why don't you just put his hand in that realm? I don't know. I mean, like, it's magic, right? Why didn't you just punch him out of his like astral body? I don't know. It's just like, what the fuck? They don't really define it. It's not clearly defined. So that being said, you got your Shang-Chi, right? And he has Master Chi. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? He has Chi. So in the trailer, he's punching shit and things are flying. And that's about it, really. He does Kung Fu. I see one scene where like the water is floating, he's looking at it. So I don't know what that means. But I don't know, man. It's pretty weak, in an entire Marvel universe, every character can do some badass thing. When you're talking the movies, right? There's no like lower tier character. I mean, you could say Black Widow is going to come out, and that's pretty cool, but they're going to keep that story small. But the way they're building this movie, it seems like it's big epic. I don't know. Basically, I'm a roundabout way trying to say that this is going to be a boring movie. I mean, this looks like Kung Fu, but with Marvel. And it seems to be what makes a Marvel movie successful is this: good characters, good story, and then, some escapades, right? Doctor Strange was very spectacle-like, and that's probably what made it go as far as it did. But the story isn't that great, The actors are great, but the story's, like I said, it's not that great. What made Iron Man such a success was the, charismatic characters and a great story, and a good hero's journey, right? And then you got Captain America. Narratively, that's good hero's journey. I think I mean, he stays the same, but it's still, I don't know. It's a real good character. Story's really good. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's so a bit of a spectacle. And then Thor really worked, the third one, because that was just a really good character, really good story. And it was funny. I mean, it had that going for it. It had the X factor. Let's just say a Marvel movie needs a little X factor. Guardians of the Galaxy, yeah, good characters, good story, a lot of heart. I think the music was your X factor, right? Because that really nailed it. What other movies are there that are like really good? I don't know. I don't think Captain Marvel was that great. I think Black Panther had good potential, but the ending really fell apart. Still a good movie. I mean, I watched it a bunch of other times with my kid, and I was just like, it's not that bad. It really isn't. I mean, like the initial wokeness and the what is the word when you're pushing too hard. I don't know. The hype. There you go. The hype. The hype for it was pretty epic, but reality that wasn't really wasn't that was too much. The hype was too much, but the ending kind of falls apart, right? You didn't really clearly define what the bad guy wanted, right? The bad guy was well written, everything like that, but he gets to a point where he just wants to put, I guess, guns in black people's hands, and then therefore they'll take over, which is like a crazy plot unto itself. That like, oh, if these like black people were to get guns, then he'd be able to take over the world or some bullshit like that. Maybe. I mean, for the purpose of a movie, it should have been like, I don't know. He should have like a doomsday ray or some bullshit like that. Kill all the white people, some kind of a genetic gun or something. I don't know. Anything but what the fuck they had going on. And I think that's the only thing that the X factor for that movie was that, it was a big black cast. So, from that being said, became very popular. And, your Iron Man movies and all that. I'm trying to think. Can't remember. Hulk is a bit of a non-movie. Both of those movies weren't that great. No matter what they do, you get a big green guy. It's kind of hard to carry a movie with the CG character, and that's basically what this Shang-Chi is. Instead of a CG character fucking things up, where people could clearly understand what the fuck is going on, big green thing fucking things up. You got this kung fu movie. Like, what's he doing? He's fucking people up with kung fu. I'll tell you what. Back in the day, that was the thing because people had never seen that before, So you see kung fu, watch out, kung fu. Holy fuck, what is all this? Oh man, you could do that with your body. It's crazy. But now in a world where like you have like fucking space explosions and this and that, it's kind of hard to make a movie popular just with kung fu. Like that's like trying to make a movie popular with just driving, which can work if you have like an ensemble cast and I guess good writing. I mean, like, I'm not trying to fight for Fast and Furious, but like that, I mean, if you watch the movies, there's something to it, good camaraderie, action, driving, I mean, but it is, once again, I mean, it's not a Marvel movie, so you got this Marvel movie with Kung Fu, and hopefully they'll try. But I think we're going to have another Mulan situation here. That movie bombed. No, I don't think the market works for Asian movies that much. Asians really haven't come up in this world. Like they do the Kung Fu, and that's about it, really. Because other than that, man, I mean, maybe black exploitation is moving to the Asians now. They can come up with funny movies, but other than that, man, Asians they can never make it in the movie field. Other than anime, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to. You see a Denzel, and I'm like, that guy, that's a main guy. And you see Ezra Elba, and that's it. But like, there's no real Asian people where you're just like, yeah, man, that's it. I'm Asian, I get it. I mean, I want representation. I want my Manny Pack. I want more than just Manny Pacquiao. But I mean, realistically, I mean, there's no real like Oscar Asian dude. I think they're gonna try this year. I mean, there's a lot of Asian hate this year, so it's like I think the Oscars will pick some Asian guy from some movie I've never heard of, and that might be a thing for a little bit, but unless they're casting like Asian people on every single fucking movie, this ain't gonna be a thing. Because I mean, like, the only reason why you have women in any kind of fucking thing is because they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And eventually, it's a thing, it's in your face, and you're just like, okay, I'm over it. And then now that they're there, the novelty of it is gone. And so you just see the cream of the crop rise, right? You have 108 women movies, I mean, kung fu and shit like that, or not kung fu, but superhero movies. They're not going to really be seen, but you get like a charismatic character like Scarlett Johansson, Johansson, or whatever how you say her name is. you're not going to get something, So with the Asian movies, I guess you really got to pump these out, and to the point where people are like, yeah, finally, and then it'll just become a normal thing. Kind of like you don't even, bat an eye when Denzel's out, or that's what we need. We need Asian Denzel. That's what this podcast should be called, Asian Denzel. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of a classic Training Day quote, you pass the test. I can't think of anything without sounding racist, like make some Asian. So pass the test. No, yeah, I can't do Asian accent that well. And what do I mean by Asian accent? Holy shit, I might get canceled, shit. There's tons of them, but I guess you can't do that anymore. Shane Gillis ruined it all for us guys. Okay. All right, here we go. Shang-Chi has power chi. If I click on chi, it gives me actual chi, which is a key. But I think that's how they say chi. He has self-duplication. That's the thing he can do. Formally self-duplication. Master of chi. His first appearance was in what is it? Where's his first appearance? We should say first appearance. I don't know, man. Why am I not seeing it like right off the bat? Master of Kung Fu. I don't know. I'll tell you this though. If they wanted to have an Asian superhero, I think they should do Superman. No, not Superman in the way that we know Superman. I think they had an Asian Superman. And I think that they really went for it, like hit some hardcore political taboos. I think they could really make an awesome movie, It would sound very anti-communist if you did that, but I mean, I think that would be really good. I mean, here you got this guy with these powers, raised in, communist China, and to see the travesties that is there. And then, but like, he's all for it, like, because he's living there, and he's all for the people and all that propaganda, just like an American would be, right? Because we go to other countries and do bad shit. So, like, I mean, like, the only reason why we do it is because we got our own propaganda and we do our things, So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, some fucked up shit going on, and he'd just be all right with it. Like, how do you rise to the top, of things that your country does normally, and then he takes a stance on it? I mean, like, shit, dude. You imagine if Superman took stance on political issues? Like, so he goes with so he's anti-global warming. What would he do? Like, he would what could he do? Like, it's like if he was pro-global warming, like he believes it, let's say, they would just smash a bunch of shit, right? Like, oh yeah, fucking, you're gonna pollute our fucking lands, well, like that. But if he was like Republican hardcore, I mean, what is he gonna do? He can't like slash taxes and shit, like that's all it is, right? I mean, abortion would be the only thing he could, like, say he's like pro-abortion. What would he do? Smash those religious people? Like, I mean, what the fuck? I think that there's something to be written there, and people haven't tapped that yet. I mean, it'd be controversial, but man, that's what we need nowadays. We need controversy, because back in the day, when you wrote a movie that was like anti-God or something, like questioning religion, it would be controversial. But now you could just do that and no one cares. There's no doors to swing open. We're swinging all the doors that are wrong, meaning that's not a door to swing, like, it's not taboo anymore for, like, races to mingle with each other and shit like that. It's not taboo to question the church and things like that. What taboo now is questioning politics and decision making and things like that. Like, why are we listening to TV? Why are we listening to the news all the time? How come I can listen to the news at one instance, but I'm not listening to a news in the other? Something like that. That'd be good, but it'd be hard to write because people would see your political leanings and then say, oh, this is propaganda. And there you go. But that would be good, right? Because, right, like in the 90s, if you question the church, it was kind of a thing, right? It was very controversial. It would take that shit off, say that's why kids are shooting schools up because of this, So then, yeah, I mean, if the media is pushing one narrative, controversial, I would think nowadays, as anything the media is going. So you go the opposite direction, right? So if the media is like pro-alien, you'd be anti-alien, whatever the fuck. Now, I mean, I didn't mean like illegal alien, I meant actual aliens. But hey, fucking go there too. That'd be fucking great, right? So Superman's like pro, like anti-immigration. Oh my god, that'd be the fucking hilarious. Because fuck these motherfuckers taking my land, you know. But it's not his land, you know. So it wasn't born here. That'd be fucking fascinating as fuck. I'm gonna bring that whatever. Now that's a good combo. All right. What I wanted to do was, okay, why is it I can't just like minimize this? I go like that. Then if I go shrink it, why wouldn't it shrink earlier? Why the fuck can I not shrink that? All right, team. So I went and Googled. I like to riff about this kind of bullshit. It's the 15 best episodes in Star Trek TV history, ranked. Figured I'd do this. I lost myself again. I don't know how I did that. All right, there we go. I need 2 monitors, honestly, guys. It's crazy. All right, here we go. So my thought was how Paramount almost killed Star Trek. I already knew that. So what I wanted to do was, reminisce about Star Trek because I fucking love that show. But to do that, I needed something to go off of. There's tons of episodes, and I currently am going through every year. I go through a run of Star Trek. I usually bounce from season to season, but this time I'm going Star Trek Next Generation. And I think I was playing with the idea of going to the Q episodes. Now here, let me throw this at you guys. I watched Star Trek Next Generation, the first episode for the first time in maybe 5-10 years. I don't know. It's been a while, maybe 10 years. I don't know. But okay, here. So I do watch every Star Trek show, but I always skip a season. Like I always skip the first season, maybe the second season of Star Trek Next Generation. I'll do that with Voyager. I'll skip the first season, which I shouldn't do anymore. And definitely for Deep Space Nine, I'll skip a season. And Star Trek, I do not skip. I just keep going. I do skip that first episode, though, of Star Trek, the original series. Enterprise, though, oddly, I'll go through the whole thing. And that's where the buck stops there for Star Trek. I really don't like the newer Star Trek. It's more like a 1 episode kind of thing. Like not 1 episode. What I mean by that is like the entirety of a show season is more like an episode, like 1 episode, just very long. So I notice that when I'm talking about myself, there's a lot of breathing going on here. It's not even breathing, I'm just talking. But here we go. I think my wife's watching TV. But I think that as soon as I get down there, I'm like, hey, look, we're watching some Star Trek. This shit's happening. All right, here we go. Episode 15. So, okay, so we're going through it. It's not my list, someone else's list, but we'll go through it. And I'll give you my thoughts on that. This is greatest episodes of Star Trek across all the series. All right. Ugh. Looks like they used the newer stuff, but I'm up to date, so whatever. Starting at number 15, at the top 15. 15. This is all Star Trek. They picked Equinox. Let me guess what Equinox is. I'm having a bit of a brain fart on that one. Equinox. I think that's the one, and I usually skip this episode because I think it's not that great. I would call it Desperate Voyager, I think. So Voyager is about, it's basically Star Trek again. You got this ship sent all the way to another quadrant of space of our Milky Way galaxy called the Delta Quadrant. And Voyager has to get back home. And on this, they explore. Because they're finding new ways and they have to explore. And they're on their own. So it's like I would call it Star Trek Plus. Because it is the essence of Star Trek, but it's on its own thing because they're on by themselves, so they can't ask for help, which they do get help by making alliances, which is pretty fucking dope. And that's what, and when people get pissy about Janeway being an admiral at the end of this, out of all the shows, she becomes admiral like immediately before Picard. It makes sense, man. She was multiple times. She had legions of people with her. So think about it. Without the name of the Federation, she's able to instill leadership in alien races to fucking help her take down fucking all these people and shit, you know. And she took down the Borg. I mean, there you go. Pretty fucking awesome. Oh, ugh. All right, let's go through this. Equinox. I was guessing this is the episode where they met another crew of Star Trek people, Federation people who they didn't have a good run like Voyager did. Had it way worse. So they're fucked up. See if I'm right. I think I was right. In this two-part season 6 finale, the Voyager crew find themselves faced with a glimpse of what they could have become if they had let their compassion, conviction, and moral principles erode. So basically, I remember what the gist of it though is like they would get these aliens, and they would use them in their their drive, and it would make their fucking ship go further, you know. And so that was pretty good. I wonder why. That's number 15 though. I guess. I mean, it is kind of like Evil Voyager. I think it's like they don't explain why they picked that one. They just said, hey, this is it. But the ship does escape, so they left it open for that ship to come back, but they don't. So I guess, I mean, 15, that's a pretty good episode pick. If you're talking about all the greatest episodes, that's not an episode I would watch though. I mean, like there's Scorpion. There's like, say you want to do an episode on its own, you know, on its own merit, you know, you could use like the Omega Particle, the Borg episode where they drone, it's called. There's I don't know, man. There's an episode where they like the hologram, he accidentally kills somebody, or he let him die and it fucked with his head, and so they do this thing where they make his brain, they take away his memory of the situation, and it's like a thing in which the episode's done kind of like a Memento kind of thing where they're trying to figure out why he did that. But that's my dog trying to get in. I thought that was pretty good because it was like the choice. Tuvix, that's a pretty big one. Everyone refers that one. You know, they two Star Trek characters merged together, and then Janeway has to make the decision of keeping this new being or killing it and turning it back to his normal crew member. I mean, that was pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of episodes. So, I mean, unless they have other Voyager episodes, they shouldn't have picked this one. It was a bad choice. It feels like they were just writing just to write. Because Equinox, although good, I usually skip it. It's nowhere near the breadth of all these other episodes. There's an episode where this planet speeds up its time, and just by Voyager being there affects the time period of this fucking thing. I mean, I could keep going on forever, you know, but not this one. The Trouble with Tribbles, yeah, number 14. I guess you could call that like I guess, of all the Star Trek episodes, I guess. I mean, it introduced one of the most iconic characters in all of Star Trek, you know, an episode where it's like they introduces Mud, it doesn't introduce Mud, but Mud's there, I think, right? Is Mud in this episode? I don't know. Or is it, I think it's some kind of a traitor, some sort, and there's these tribbles, and I don't even know why that's a fucking episode, but yeah, I guess it's a funny episode with these little alien things that can multiply just on like one piece of food, and they multiply everywhere. They like a lot, and then they put them on the Klingon ships, and I guess the Klingons have to deal with them and shit, which they come back to it in Deep Space Nine. But I guess wonder why they put this. Funny teddy bears soon. I guess, man. That's, I don't know who came up with this. We're gonna, after this, guys, we're gonna see who fucking made up this article, because this is fucking terrible. These are like, of all the Star Trek episodes, really top of all the series. Whoever this person is just like an idiot. It's Kaylina Pierce Bowen. I would really like to have a conversation with you, Kaylina Pierce Bowen, in regards to your 15 best episodes in Star Trek TV history. I mean, tribbles. What? All right, whatever. There we go. 13. And you sure really defended yourself on that. You're talking Star Trek. Who likes Star Trek? Nerds. That's the core fans. Everyone else is like peripherally liking it, you know? I don't know. I don't know. What is a fan? I should talk to Ever about that. What is fan? All right. Fuck Ever. 13. Peak performance. Next Generation. What's this one? In the second season, Starfleet decides to stage a sort of war. Oh, good God. Really? That's number 13 of all the Star Trek episodes? Really? Fucking peak performance? This episode, Data lose. I'm this is off of my memory. Data loses to this one fucking strategist. They also have to there's like they split the crew in half in two different ships, and they're gonna fight each other, you know, in a war games, you know, to strengthen their resolve for the Borg. So it's Riker versus Picard, and they cheat, by the way. Riker cheats, but you know, whatever. No win scenarios. Kirk. And then at the same time, the Ferengi are there, and they're seizing opportunity to take one of the ships. Whatever. And the B plot is Data couldn't beat this one guy, which is fascinating that he couldn't win at this one game. But then it turns out that he forgot he's a robot. That's one of the many fallacies of Data, man. He's just like, he's smart in one instance and he's dumb in another. So, I mean, he's really a MacGuffin unto himself, right? Because, I mean, Data should be like, he's the most overpowered character ever. Whenever he wanted to take over the ship, he would. So it stands to reason. Anytime you got in a fucking fight with somebody, beam Data over there, fucking kill them all. And the reason they picked it is because Data questions his executive functions when he can't defeat the famous strategist. Riker questions his ability to lead and make the right decisions when it counts. I don't remember that being a plot of Riker questioning himself. Riker doesn't question himself really until, like, you know, Borg and he's fighting his lover Picard. I don't remember him questioning it. He does fuck up that other ship with the weaker ship. If anything, if you wanted to test it, it should have been Picard on the weaker ship versus. But I mean, it seems to be Picard's always putting Riker through the ringer just to test him for no fucking reason at all. Even Carter isn't prepared for a surprise Ferengi attack, cripples the Enterprise, but he delivers the memorable line. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That's not a weakness, that's life. But that is a good quote from Picard, because he's right. You can make every decision that is correct and lose. Best of both worlds. Dumb. Connecting those two. You should have rated these episodes on their own. I should create my own fucking list. So you got Best of Both Worlds, which is a great number 12. You would think that'd be number 1. If you're going to go this direction, it should be number 1. So Patrick Stewart's contract was kind of up for Star Trek, so they didn't know what they were going to do with the show, which would have been awesome. I mean, it would have been not awesome, but like, I mean, it would have been kind of cool to see how Riker would have handled the show and what a fucking devastating thing you would do. I don't think people could handle it. But so Best of Both Worlds was a time in Star Trek where conflict between characters wasn't really a big thing because of Gene Roddenberry. He really wanted the story to be characters are good and their conflict would be other people. So be it. And in this, you have this like ultra powerful race called the Borg. And what they did was they took over Picard for reasons that are just dumb. Used him as a mouthpiece to take over the fucking quadrant. You know, they're going to take over Earth and all this bullshit. And so Picard's destroying everybody. And Riker, for the first time, has to take down his own mentor and all this bullshit. A lot of good lines. A lot of things are happening. It's pretty good. The season finale and the two-parter is Riker shooting Picard, and they would, if Picard did not get, or Patrick Stewart did not renew his contract, it would have just been, you know, still fighting the Borg. Show would have carried on with just Riker as captain. That would have been dope. But I mean, you know, different way. It's like, I like spaghetti. I like lasagna, you know? I wonder if there's like an alternate reality. You can see that, like a show. Oh, that'd be tight, man. If they did that like a cartoon, it'd be great. Do like a 4-part series, see how far you can go with that. Just like an alternate Star Trek. But yeah, I don't know if that should have been 12. That really should have been number 1, depending on what shit you got going on. I'm noticing that I just talked. Okay, so you got 15 of all the series, right? So there's Enterprise, there's Deep Space Nine, Discovery, all that. And these are the shows of the top 15. There is no episode that's better than, say, Best of Both Worlds and Discovery, Enterprise, or what's the other one? Picard or whatever. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Who made this list? Clearly someone who doesn't watch Star Trek. The Void. What is The Void? Voyager gets much maligned for not having clear direction in episodes that lack originality, but The Void was an episode that highlighted its best showcase of Star Trek themes involving optimism, compassion, integrity. When Voyager enters the area of space where ships get trapped without possibility of escape, the crew discover that they're preying on other surrounding ships in the same situation. Is this what I think it is? With low morale, crew seriously contemplate participating in piracy themselves. This doesn't look like the right image for this episode. Why would you pick that as number? Fuck, man. So this episode of Voyager goes into this fucking expanse of space where it's just dark, and I'm pretty sure Tuvok and Paris get stuck on a planet, and they're surviving, and time is differently, and Janeway's trying to survive too in this void, and she makes alliances with other ships, and they're protecting other ships, and it turns out the singularity is about to close in on itself, just so happens, and Janeway figures it out, and then they all get out. But I don't know why you would put that. Why would you put that at 11? You just bored. This is who this person is. They're just bored. Pale Moonlight. Now that is a good episode. I get it. Like, I like it more than Best of Both Worlds, but I watch Best of Both Worlds a lot, so that's why I like it more. But I mean, if you're talking about gravity of situations, Pale Moonlight should be better than Best of Both Worlds. Pale Moonlight and Deep Space Nine is a great episode. So when Deep Space Nine comes out, they were like, fuck everything Gene Roddenberry had going on. Let's use some of the themes and keep moving forward. So a lot of conflict between characters. And this episode's a fucking bomb. Dude, it's like, oh my God, it's so good. So starts out with Cisco on Deep Space Nine. So in this time period in Deep Space Nine, is about a space station guarding a fucking wormhole. And in this wormhole connects to this one place called the Gamma Quadrant, and where there's fucking these little aliens called changelings, and they get this entire fucking group of people called the Dominion, and they just take over planets, right? Everything has to be controlled and orderly. And Federation, pretty much everyone in the Alpha Quadrant, they're getting their asses kicked. People are dying left and right. It's war. And Cisco takes it upon himself to get the Romulans to join the war effort. This is a big deal. You need the Romulans. They're another empire. You know, you get like a lot of people against one. It's good. It's good. You want this. So he enlists Garak, which is one of my favorite characters of all time when it comes to Star Trek. He's up there. He's top tier. He's one of my top 3. And he's a spy. Garak's a spy. You don't know that, but he is. And he's a tailor. Okay. Anyway, so he enlists his help to get the Romulans in. They do a bunch of bad and shady things. And it's cool because it's really where it should have went, you know. In Deep Space Nine, Cisco just keeps delving deeper and deeper into some bad shit. He don't mean to, but each step he gets takes him that much closer. In the end, they end up killing this dude from the Romulans, which then gets the Romulans to jump into the war. And this whole time, you know, Cisco's playing this confession, and he ends up just fucking living with it, you know. And he looks at the camera and goes, I can live with this. I can live with this. I can live with this. And then he goes, computer delete program, or whatever the fuck. So he deletes his own confession. It was a pretty good fucking thing. I really do think that she kind of Googled top episodes and just put them together. I mean, the fuck. Measure of a Man, it's pretty up there. That should be top tier too. Measure of a Man's great. Yeah, they are putting the wrong pictures to things. It's the episode from Generations. I'm a picture from Generations. I'm not gonna show you guys because I'm lazy. So Measure of a Man is pretty cool. I think it could have been better made, like in the 6th season or something like that. But basically, Data, the robot, he's in Starfleet, and this one robot dude, this guy who makes robots and shit, takes upon himself to reassign Data to his command, and he's gonna experiment on him. And the argument was he's property, not a sentient being. And Data disagrees, so is the captain. So they hold court and they have to prove if Data is a robot, is property, or sentient. And at the very end, the only thing that happens is, and this is important because Captain Picard, he sets a precedence with this court. So from whatever is ruled from that point on, becomes kind of a law. Like, whenever like a court thing happens, you can always refer to the Supreme Court. This happened, so therefore you do this. This is a precedence. So that's what he did. He was like, look, if you fucking keep making robots and they're their own species, then they are slaves. And then what will we do? How will history judge us for that? And then, the lady who was the judge at the time had to fucking figure shit out. She was like, fuck, what do I do? And I think she's played by Worf's girlfriend, the actress. She's in a lot of Star Trek. She plays a fucking Worf's girlfriend, like a Klingon, half Klingon. She plays like a fucking those Endorian things. She plays a Vulcan. She plays a human. Anyways, she rules for Data. So because Data's sentient, you can't fucking take these guys and make them the slaves. And then Picard happens and they say, fuck that shit. Let's make a bunch of fucking robot Datas. It's okay though, because they have no sentience, I guess. You know what they should have did if they were gonna have robot slaves for Data, they should have had a test. And if they pass the test, then they can remain slaves. So basically, are you alive? And they go, no, and then move on. That way you give credence to Measure of a Man. And the only part that they gave credence to Measure of a Man was Maddox was there, and they quickly kill his ass in Picard. Fuck that show. Fuck Picard in the ass. That show sucked. I hated it. 8, Balance of Terror. That should be top tier. I don't know if it should be 8, maybe move down to 4. Submarine warfare at its best. So at this point in time in Star Trek, the original show, I guess you never seen the Romulans. That's a thing. And I guess an outpost gets destroyed. I think Kirk's brother gets killed, actually. Or is it the Gorn do that? I'm not too sure. But anyways, an outpost gets destroyed. They fight. They take it to the stars. They start flying away. I forgot. It's been a while, but the ships are flying. But there's no, and then like they're getting attacked. They don't know what the fuck is going on. And then Spock, being a genius, is like, shit, this must be a ship that can cloak. Like he comes up with the rationale. It's not like he just jumps to the conclusion. What I liked about the original Star Trek is there was no jumping to conclusions. There was a natural deduction of things moving forward. And I think that's better writing and is lost on our time period. We don't have deduction anymore. It's just like literally no deductive reasoning, straight fucking the bad guy's right there, bricks or something. And that's what you have in that show. And then so the two captains are fighting each other and they're articulating each other's thoughts without actually talking about it, without seeing each other. And they have one strategy after another coming after each other. And then and Kirk, what's cool is Kirk is just coming up with shit real quick, but the other guy, he's like figuring shit out and he's going through his process. And Kirk wins, obviously, and you get to see the Romulans. It's a big deal. I think the guy who plays Spock's dad plays the Romulan. I'm not too sure. Chain of Command. That should be a fucking top episode right there. That second episode is fucking fire. The full lights. I don't know, man. Number 7, maybe it should be higher. I don't know. So for reasons that are just ridiculous, just for the story plot, they need Captain Picard to do a certain thing, right? And he does a covert mission. Cardassians are an alien race that are kind of like in some kind of a weird Cold War situation. So they want them slaves back. They want Bajor. All right, so the Cardassians, they capture Picard and torture his ass, but they don't torture him and try to get codes off of him. They try to break him first. And to break him, they try to make him say there are 5 lights instead of 4 lights. So the guy would torture him and show him these lights above his head. You go, how many lights do you see? The guy would say 4. Picard would say 4 because that's how many. And the other guy was like, they're 5. And then, every time he would say it. So that it goes back and forth between these two. And he's getting tortured all over the place. Picard, tortured. So powerful. At the very end, it looks like all hope is gone. To the bottom of the core, everything looks bad. And the guy's like giving him a chance. He wants to break him before. So Picard won without even knowing it. But the bad guy wanted to break him because it was an ego trip the whole time. Wanted to break him before he can let him go. So basically he was like, how many lights do you see? And in that instant, Picard is like seeing the lights and he's like been fucking tortured. He knows that this is it for him. And you never get the answer. Kinda. They kind of give it to you. At the very end, it turns out everything's good. He's going back to his ship, and then fucking Picard does this thing where he breaks down, but does he? I mean, he breaks down. He is breaking down, but it's kind of like, you got to look at it a couple times, make sure. He goes, down for that. It's down for lights. That's what he does to him. So who knows? At the very end of it, him and Deanna Troi are talking, and then he goes, I could see 5 lights. Now, one could argue he may have seen 5 lights, but he would have said 4, or he would have said 5. So you don't know. So it is kind of open. I would like to believe that he would have said 5 lights because that made him more human. Because anyone who's about to be tortured for the rest of his life and all he has to say is 5 lights and says 4 instead for all time is a person who would never quit. Person who would never let 900 Romulans die. Just saying. Anyways, let's see here. This is the top tier episode 2, City of the Edge Forever. Now we're getting somewhere. All those other episodes suck, but man, City Forever. So in the original series, this is back in the day, way back in the day. There's this fucking tunnel thing, goes back in time, and McCoy goes back in time by accident because he's got some kind of a thing inside of him that made him go crazy, and because he went back in time, he did something to fuck time up because the beings who made this fucking thing are too advanced at that time. They changed the story completely, but at the time, they sent these people. I sent Kirk and Spock to go fix it because they're the only ones who could figure it out. Because you got a being, and I feel like they understood time travel and things like that back then more than they do now. So you got a being who's 4th dimensional, so it's kind of hard for them to comprehend what the fuck this guy did to fuck shit up, because you're seeing alternate realities and things like that. So only the people that are from that time would understand. So that's why they sent them. So Spock and Kirk go back in time. They figure shit out. As it turns out, some chick that Kirk kind of falls in love with, if she doesn't die, Hitler wins for a reason through fucking whatever story writing you want to go with. That's what happens. So Kirk sees, so he's dating this chick. And Kirk sees McCoy, the person he's looking for, and McCoy. Then they meet each other. It's a very happy moment, right? Because they see each other. It's great. They've been looking for each other this whole time. Hey, our mission's accomplished. Great. And this girl comes and she's about to get hit by a truck, and McCoy runs to save her. And Kirk stops him because in that instant, he knew what that meant. In the instant. And she dies. He lets her die. And McCoy's like, don't you know what you've done? Because McCoy, from his point of view, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He thinks he's doing the right thing. But Kirk, knowing history and Hitler and all the ways he does things, he sacrifices that chick he loves to let that lady die. And he did it in an instant. I thought that was good writing. Me personally, still good to this day. And they fucking understand it. Whatever on the Frou Discovery show. I mean, let's make all happy endings. Let's make the main character cry all the time. Yeah. Oh, on his rescue mission to save McCoy, Kirk encounters a woman named Edith Keeler. She will become internationally famous for her pacifist movement that prevents President Roosevelt from entering World War II, allowing Adolf Hitler to develop the atomic bomb for the first use of control. She is supposed to die. Oh, shit. Okay, I see why. So in America, I guess, she would have made it so America wouldn't go into World War II. And Hitler would develop the bomb. Oh, that's real clever writing. That's better than just a MacGuffin. There it is. Number 5, garbage piece of shit article writer. You put all these episodes in, right? And you put Through the Valley of Shadows. Fuck this, dude. No Discovery episodes are at this level. None. No. And it beats City of the Edge of Forever, which repeats kind of the same themes. So garbage. So, all right, in this one, it's cool too. This shows you how awesome Pike is, but I mean, he doesn't beat fucking Kirk. Whatever. So there's this time crystal fucking thing, and they need it to power some fucking thing to get something, but whatever. The story is he needs this fucking crystal. To get this crystal, he sees there's like this MacGuffin. If you see your fucking future, you can prevent it or something. And if you do that, something would happen. It's some kind of weird sacrifice kind of thing. So he's able to see his future, and rather than change it, he decides not to. His future is worse if basically he sacrifices his future to save the universe. Okay, there you go. Whatever, man. And that's basically the crux of the show. Discovery's a garbage show in comparison to other shows. I mean, it's like, especially that Red Angel bullshit. It's fucking dumb. It's like they threw darts and then they just connected them together to make a story. That's all they did. Meanwhile, cue the main character crying in every episode. Crying, not a bad thing, but if you overdo it, it's not a thing. Loses. I mean, when Kirk fucking cries for Spock in Wrath of Khan, I mean, or when Spock kind of sheds a tear in Amok Time, I mean, and that should be like fucking number 1 or whatever the fuck. That's a thing, not like, man, if Kirk cried in every fucking episode, it wouldn't work, right? Anyways, episode 4, Enterprise, Broken Bow, shouldn't be in the top 10 at all. I mean, there's Enterprise episodes that are pretty good, but it shouldn't be in top 10. I'm gonna create my own list, guys. It's gonna be way better than this. This is bad. This is from a non-Star Trek viewer. They should say, the person who wrote this should say, I don't watch Star Trek all the time, so here I've compiled an episode list of the top 15 of all the series. I mean, I would have done this. I would have measured each show in its own rights on how good they are, and then their best episodes, and then go from there. I mean, if you have to pick episodes from each genre, I would let them go head to head. It's kind of hard, but I mean, if you have to pick an episode, a show, you put their best episodes and you go head to head. And unfortunately, some episodes are better than others. And most of them will be STNG heavy. This is the way it is. STNG, top tier show, fucking really brought it back. I mean, TS, the original series, it's good. TNG's better. Voyager's pretty fucking good too. I don't know, man. It's a tough battle. Broken Bow, that's the first episode of Enterprise. Shouldn't even be in this. That's it. Some Klingons are on Earth for the first time. It's like a big deal. Archer has to take the new Enterprise out for the first time to fucking save the world. And then you can see the birth of the Federation. It's a pretty good show, but I don't know if first episode. God, there's so many good episodes of Enterprise. I don't know why you would put that in there. Oh. Okay, so you got Picard. You had to put a Picard episode in there. There would never be any Picard episode should be in this show. If you have to give an episode, this would be the one though, because I felt all the feels on this one. It's an episode where Picard sees Riker and Troy, which is funny because like what the fuck, no cameos from the original cast till like way in the end. It's not even that great of an episode, but it is cool because it's just right after Daj. This one, I think her name is Daj. I forgot her name. Picard finally meets up with this one lady he's supposed to protect. They fucking use some MacGuffin thing that they could have used earlier to take over the world with the Borg, but whatever. They teleport to this one planet and they see fucking Deanna Troi for the first time in a long time. And for no reason, I don't know why. I mean, I'm pretty confident if Picard's hurting, Troy would then see Picard, and he had been hurting for like 15 years or whatever the fuck. And this is the first time they see each other, whatever the fuck. All right. So Troy sees Picard, and this is a great moment because Troy's a powerful empath, powerful to say the least, top tier. You got the flagship of the Federation, and she's number one, top of the list at the top fucking thing. That's how powerful she is by status and power. And she knows Picard's brain, all he is. She sees him, and Picard, who holds all this shit in, she emotes what he's been feeling, and so she knows. And he then says with words, I'm okay. I'm okay. She's fucking bawling because he's not okay. And she knows it. And I thought that was great. Riker, he's great because he knows a bunch of shit. He's angry that he didn't come to him first. It's kind of a weird thing too, because you got the scene where, why didn't you get the original cast? Oh, because I didn't want to fucking get them killed. And then it gets to a point, I don't want to get these guys killed. What the fuck were you thinking? Classic Expendables 3 logic. So dumb. It's great episode though, but nowhere near top 15. But if you had to use a Picard episode, I would, and you had to put it in a top 15, and you needed to put a Picard episode, that would be the one. The only one. That show is fucking awful. Oh, Jesus Christ. You put in number 3? You guys are idiots. Fucking made this. Did someone like... They're fucking trolling. That's what they did. Trials and Tribulations. Oh, really? Deep Space Nine was a great show. A lot of great episodes. And you put that number 2. So you put Tribbles in one episode. And then Trials and Tribulations. It was a pretty cool episode. So Deep Space Nine cast go back in time by accident or whatever. And they go to the episodes with the Tribbles. And they bring the Tribbles back, by the way, because they had been extinct. But fucking terrible. It's terrible. I don't know why that would be in the top 15. Would be better than, say, that Picard episode. Number 1 was Drumhead. Oh, should be best of both worlds. Drumhead is a top tier episode. You put that as number 1. Ugh. So Drumhead is an episode in which it's a really good episode. So there's an explosion. Oh, it's so good. It's like random shit's happening, and then there's a big explosion. And so they got to figure out what the fuck happened. And there must be a spy. And then they got this lady. And so she's like king shit when it comes to finding some shit out. and she fucking goes for everybody, right? She finds the bad guy, but it's not done there. She obviously there has to be more. So she gets more people, and she finds this one guy, and he's hiding a secret, but not the secret of exploding shit. He's hiding a secret so he won't get kicked out of Starfleet. And she finds out that he's hiding a secret, and then so by guilty of hiding something, that means he's guilty of destroying the ship. But that's not what's happening. And Picard sees this, makes a big speech, and makes everything okay. And I think that that's the reason it shouldn't be number one, is because it's a little bit sexist in a way, because like, so the only way a woman can lose is if she has an emotional breakdown. It is the crux of the episode where Picard quotes her father's, the judge's dad, and it's a good speech. And then she just cracks, and therefore it's all right, And I was like, it's a bit sexist, But that's how they did it in the 90s, right? They were sexist but fake progressive. They're a bunch of Joss Whedons, beta jellies, these fake fucking people who pretend to be woke and they pretend to be progressive, but they're really not. And this episode's very sexist, but like nobody gives a shit, right? Picard's badass. Number one, I don't think so. If you want to represent woke and progressiveness, and Star Trek does do this inadvertently, even though they're trying to use wokeness as a platform, it really does do things that are woke inadvertently, I think. I mean, it's obvious that, Janeway's the captain of the Voyager, and they're trying to be woke with that. But guess what, bitches? She's number one. And that's the way it is. And she's good. It's not because they fucking casted a fucking woman. She's good shit. They made a mistake upward, and that's a rare fucking thing. This episode's good, but it's not progressive, and it's fucking anti-progressive, if anything. Whatever. And yes, I would have been okay if it was a guy and he cracked, because that's not a thing. But like at that time, women always they had Deanna Troi fucking collapse over a bunch of shit all the time. You know what? I was watching the Farpoint episode, Next Generation, and there's an episode I was like, Troy's so weak in this respect. But let me outline what went down, and it makes a sense. It's like she's the only one in the room that's acting right. So, first day of the job, on the flagship of the Federation, to achieve this feat is almost unimaginable. To be on the flagship of the Federation, you're in a place where money doesn't have value. How do you get on top of things? How do you become number one? It's your merit, who you are, how badass you have to be. And so to be there, especially as a fucking counselor, that's cosmic, like the fuck, you're that badass of a counselor that you're fucking on the flagship of the Federation from a guy who's like cold and fucked up, and it still has obviously PTSD, but no one ever really says it, because the Stargazer fringy bullshit, whatever. And so first day of the job, they got a routine mission of flying towards some kind of a fucking space station. That seems too bad, right? You thinking you're just gonna do PR stunts and shit like that, and all of a sudden this big fucking grid comes out of nowhere, and you're like, what the fuck? This guy just teleports on your ship, and you're like, what the fuck? And then boom, now you're in this, more teleportation happens. Now you're in this, and it's funny because like Deanna Troi is she can sense shit, right? So they establish a power in that episode. I would say, I don't know if they carry it on. It's like she can tell when she's real. So when she's there, she's like, this shit is real. This is real. Like where we're at right now is real. This isn't an imagination. This isn't some trick. Whatever this guy fucking did, it's Q. And whatever he fucking did, he put us in a place, and this shit is real. Okay, guys? And then like Q starts doing shit. It's fucking people dying, drugs, all this shit. And she starts to melt. She's like, oh, what the fuck is happening? And it's very cash, but I mean, it happens. And they kill one of the crew members. He does this thing where he freezes them. It looks like they just blasted her with CO2 extinguishers, probably like whipped cream. I don't know, who knows. And and then she fucking cracks. And I was like, as a kid, I was like, man, like, what the fuck's wrong with that lady? But like I said, you never had a day of actual stress. You know, there's no war. She comes from Betazoid. I mean, like, she has come from a fucking perfect bubble of life, love and liberty, you know, freedom and everything. Then she worked her ass off to get to the top tier. Day one, a Bing who can fuck. This is it. You're gonna surrender. This happened. Like literally, like the ship separated. They have to surrender because Picard knows this is it. We're dead. This guy has done all these things and he's gonna fucking kill us. This is the way we go. And she can sense everyone's mind, especially the Q. She senses Q. He's real, powers, and then like Picard's like, this is it. We surrender. And now you're surrendering. You may die. What the fuck? My first day, and I'm about to die. And I'm gonna be the first one who ever died on a starship, fucking flagship, you know, at the in a situation was your first day. You know what I mean? I mean, even the Enterprise C had some missions before it got his. You know, Enterprise B, it didn't get destroyed; it just hit the ribbon. You know, I mean, and that's before it even flew out. No Federation's flagship gets destroyed day one. You know, that's not a fucking thing. And there she is. I thought that was beautiful. I was looking at my wife telling her this shit. She can give two shits. But I mean, hey, she ain't a nerd like me. So, I mean, that's your list of the top 15. Where the fuck made that list? I'll tell you who it was. Don't. Kalina Pierce Bowen. Ugh. Hate you. You made a shitty ass list. I promise, guys, I'll make a top 15. But you know what? I had to. I just saw this. Every Star Trek series ranked worst to best. I'm not going to go into a tangent. I just kind of want to see what John Oraquiola, what his thoughts are on the top 15. Let's see. Top Star Trek series, best to worst to best. Right? Is that what it is? Ranked worst to best. Okay, here we go. Number 7, animated series. It's a pretty good show. I'm not gonna lie. If you ever watch that, it's actually Star Trek. It's a continuation. I wouldn't have separated that. Star Trek Enterprise is 6. 5 is Voyager. Voyager's better than Enterprise. I don't know what it is, and they did that. My bad. What am I thinking? So far, so good. Discovery number 4. Wrong. I don't even want to read this shit. 3, original series. The thing that started it all. I think that should be number 1 if it started it all, but whatever. 2, Deep Space Nine, and number 1 is Next Generation. Now you can argue. You can argue Star Trek versus STNG, and that could be a good argument. How in the fuck are you going to argue Discovery any better? Well, anyways, all right, I gotta go. This is enough. I ranted too much. My voice is starting to crack. I talk too much. All right, team. So that was it. Solo podcast from your old boy Kev. And as always, be the better person than you were yesterday. And I don't just say that to take it lightly. I mean, if you could do something that is better for you tomorrow, today, then do it. And what do I mean by that? If you're putting off a goal such as doing push-ups or sit-ups or eating food, right foods, do that today. You know, if you say, you know what, I'm not going to eat that chocolate cake right before going to bed tomorrow, though, do it today. I, unfortunately, have eaten that chocolate cake. I'm just saying. I just had chocolate cake. It was fucking great. Just saying. And if you're watching Star Trek, and I think I should discuss this with Ever on this one. I think that, I don't know. I have to really think about my thoughts about that, because whoever fucking created that list was not a Star Trek fan. But are they? I mean, if say for instance that's a true list of theirs, and they liked Star Trek, I guess, and they picked those episodes, it makes me feel like they don't like Star Trek. That's what it makes me feel. So I don't know if there's more thought to be had there. You know what I mean? That's another topic for another time. But as always, be the better person you were yesterday, and always always stay frosty.